Hey Greg,
Hey guys, how are you?
pretty good. How about yourself?
Well, alive and well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like an 8 out of 10, so I'll say that's
Oh,
pretty.
that's pretty good. Yeah.
What was it, parasailing last weekend or
Yeah, so I went paragliding.
gliding? Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I got 3 days in, which was fantastic. So one of them was, I don't know if you know the mountains very well, but I was over Emerald Lake,
Oh,
Hmm.
Emerald Lake Lodge. Yeah. So hiked up to the top of Emerald Peak, and then me and two buddies, we flew off of there, and uh, yeah, we were able to ride the air currents up over the mountain peak, and then fly around the lake and give all the boaters and tourists a good show. And
nice.
yeah, yeah, and then landed next to the hiking path actually. So fantastic.
That's sick. So I was in Golden once, and I forgot, was it Mount Seven? Is it?
Mount Seven. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We drove up because you can drive up there. I'm sure you know.
yeah.
But yeah, we drove up there, and then we didn't know that it was a spot for people to launch off. We just drove up there because we heard that it's nice up there, so we just drove up, and then we parked our cars, and then we hiked that last little bit because we didn't want to drive my little car up that super steep
It's
thing.
a
Yeah,
very steep one. Yeah.
yeah, and it was also raining that day, so it wasn't great. Anyway, so went up to the top, and then these random people just showed up in a truck, just just started unpacking stuff, and then they started jumping off. I'm like, what? That's insane. And then this guy, at the end, he was like, not the end, at the beginning, he was like, he found some other guy, like another random guy. He's like, hey, I'm gonna jump off. Can you drive my truck back down, and I'll meet you at the bottom? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the adventure sport dirtbag kind of life. You just run with it. Yeah.
How long have you been doing this paragliding?
Well, I started in 2002. Um, I did 2 seasons, and then, or I guess it was more. I guess it was 3 seasons, and then I went to law school in 2006. And I'm really dating myself here, but this was like pre-Facebook days, even. So there was no like real way to like connect with community.
Mm-hmm.
So in Edmonton, because it's much flatter than here, there's just no real paragliding community at the time, anyways. If there was, I had no idea how to tap into it. So I fell out of the sport until I'd say 2015, and then I've been doing it every season since. So really about 10 years, but
Nice.
total history is over 20.
That's sick. All right. So kind of, well, first of all, thanks for joining. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for
No
taking time off
worries.
your schedule. This is just a little thing that me and Jaren started just a while ago. You're a third guest, episode 3. Uh, we just wanted to, I guess, talk to startup founders or founders in general. Doesn't have to be a startup, just business entrepreneurs, businessmen. And then our goal with this was everyone talks about talks about their success after the business has been built, but very few people actually talk about it while you're going through the trenches and
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. And yeah, I don't know about you, but for both of us, there's more bad days than good days. The
Hmm.
good days are there, but then the bad days are just rough, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we just wanted to kind of capture that while we're living it, while we're building it, and then so that we can look back in a year, 2 years from now, and kind of just really reflect on where we came from. So that's the
Cool.
whole premise behind this conversation. And yeah, so we're glad that you could join us. You were actually someone when I first started this. I told you, like, we got to get him here because I know even the stories just in our stand ups in all our programming at platform have been pretty insane. So really grateful that you could join and kind of get an hour to pick your brain.
Oh,
So
my pleasure.
perfect. So I know you're a pilot. You're a licensed pilot for single engine, right? Uh,
Right. Yeah.
you're a paraglider. I think you said somewhere your best time, personal best was like 4 hours in California.
That's right. Yeah. Good memory.
Yeah. Well, I think I just did a little research as well. There's a lot of stuff on the internet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all this is from the internet.
Scary.
Um, So I think you introduced yourself as a lawyer, a board advisor, and a stuntman. So
Yes.
how did this all begin? Like where was your have you always been the kind of guy who does things like as a kid? Did you have parents who like how did this all start?
No, like the adventure side.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I'd have to credit a fair bit to my parents. There's a few inflection points. So my parents were very outdoorsy, still are outdoorsy. So from the time I was a baby, they were taking me on like multi-night canoe trips, and it's starting to freak me out aging myself, but it was the 80s, so it was different, like there's no car seats or anything. You just did stuff. And so they had that mentality. So I grew up each summer um, just going camping. We weren't financially, we weren't a very well off family at all. So what we did is just loaded up the truck and we went for 2 weeks and we'd jump in a canoe and just off we went. We'd fish, and that's how we'd eat for a few days, and then we'd come back and do car camping. So that was an inflection point. Another one was we had at the time, a young man come stay with us. So my dad was doing a whitewater canoeing course, and there's this young man that was obviously living out of his car or camping under a tree or something. His name was Ruben. Maybe he'll be listening to this. But long story short, he had essentially hitchhiked on his skateboard across Canada from Quebec to Alberta to start this new mountain life, and was taking the same course. And he had blown out his knee snowboarding and was kind of hobbling around. So my dad said, "Why don't you come stay with us?" I forget how old I was, maybe 14, 15, something like that. And anyways, Ruben told us all these crazy mountain stories. So me and my brother kind of saw him as like this, big brother character, and
Right.
realized all the crazy stuff he could do. And that was kind of it. Got me into everything.
Amazing. And when you said camping, so like that backcountry, so you guys would just kind of just camp and fish and canoe and camp and fish.
Yeah, so it was a combination of like we did a lot of just regular old campsite camping, but when we did that, we would also just plan like something between like 3 to 5 days of backcountry as well. So that's where we would just load up the canoe and take off from the lake that we were staying at and go find campsites along the way and make our way back.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And you were in South America in your 20s, Argentina. I know this was
Yeah.
something that you spoke about, something with the gunpoint and yeah, I mean you have a lot of crazy stories. So you just like remind us again, like what, how did that happen? Like I know you spoke about it, but
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I lived in Argentina for just under 2 years.
okay,
I was doing some volunteer work down there. And that particular one with the gun incident was so I was meeting up with this really cool family that was starting up a bakery business. And I don't like the term, but for lack of a better word, like they lived in one of the slums. Like I really don't like that term because it kind of almost like dehumanizes those people. But they were extremely impoverished and living in really just it was a makeshift metal shack. Um, but and so part of what we were trying to do is help them start up a business, which is kind of interesting given the topic that we're discussing today. So they wanted to start up this bakery business, and we said, yeah, why don't we come by and help you build this brick mud oven kind of thing, and then we'll all have some lunch after. So we're walking over there, but we're running late. And usually when we go volunteer in that particular area, we'd walk around this neighborhood and then drop in right where we needed to go. And it was kind of like in this sunken area with cliffs all around it. So you had to pick and choose how you got down there. I was in this river valley area. Um, but we didn't want to be late. And so we said, it's the start of the siesta, which is when everybody takes a break during the day, and school kids were going home for the siesta. I thought, what's the worst that's going to happen? Let's just cut right through the middle of this thing and shave off an hour and a half of walking. Um, so we did that, and no sooner had we kind of descended into this like river valley area, I heard these two voices behind us saying, "Hey, chicos," and they're telling us to stop. And I look behind me, and there was one guy riding on the handlebars of this like BMX style bike, another guy pedaling. I was like, "Oh man, this is not going to go well. Like, this does not feel good." And so they jumped off the bike and they ran in front of us, and one pulled out a gun. He shot at my foot, and I didn't see any dust move. And I thought, this little punk, he's trying to rob me with a cap gun, like a fake gun. Like, there's no way I'm going to let this happen. And so I didn't respond at all. And then he held the gun to my stomach and he said, "If you don't give me everything you have, I'm going to put a bullet in you." And then he shot again at my feet, and I saw the dust move like centimeters away from my toe. I was like, "Oh no, this is real." And so gave him everything I had. He asked for my pants, but I asked him, like, please let me walk home. Like, we're not even the same size and they have holes in them. Like, they're no good to you. And thankfully, he didn't make me walk home without clothes. So that's how that happened. But the cool part after, when the, bad joke here, but when the dust settled, um, this big group of like men that lived down in this impoverished area all came out from wherever they were. It's kind of like a maze down there, but they formed this circle around us volunteers. And they said, "Don't worry, we're going to make sure nobody else harms you." And they got us out of the area. And so it was kind of, best of both worlds. You got to see some bad humanity and some pretty good humanity.
And what was this under a specific organization group, or was it just like you kind of went there? Like, how did you end up in Argentina? Like, what was?
Yeah. So it was a different life. I'm not affiliated with it at all anymore, but it was a church group that I was involved with in my younger years. And so they were looking for volunteers, and I put my hand up, and they said, "Do you want to go to Argentina?" And I said, "Well, who doesn't?" So yeah, I'll go.
Nice.
Mhm.
And from all these adventures, how did you end up being a lawyer? How did that journey come along?
Yeah, is a
Oh,
lawyer
yeah.
like the complete
Yeah.
opposite of all of this? Yeah.
I'm still wrestling with that. Yeah, so I was in air cadets when I was younger. That's how I got my pilot's license.
Okay.
I wanted to be a military pilot. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And so when I went to take my aviation medical exam with the air cadet program, because I got a scholarship for my pilot's license, found out I was colorblind.
Oh.
Uh, and I had never known my whole life, and it's very minor. It's not a very debilitating color blindness at all, but it was enough for the military to say, "No, you can't. You can't be Maverick out of Top Gun with us." And I trust me, this is related to your question. So then I thought to myself, okay, what will make me enough money one day to be able to buy my own airplane and a private landing strip somewhere so that I can always fly and nobody can take my wings from me? So I thought doctor, I was like, I don't really want to do that. Engineer, math, decent at math, but it's definitely not my thing. Accounting, I was like, no, I took an accounting course and it's just a strong no. And so I settled on law, and it turned out to be something I was actually pretty good at. So stuck with it. But I still don't have my private landing runway, and I don't own an airplane yet. So
Right. A couple of years when Made It Legal is bought for, I don't know, $100 billion from
that would
Bible.
be absolutely incredible. Yeah.
You've actually traveled pretty extensively, right? You've been to Palestine. You seem to be going to all. So is this with the church group? Like, because all the places you seem to have visited are, like I said, I don't want to say impoverished, but definitely a little rough around the edges. So
Very.
yeah, so I know you've been to Petra, been to Costa Rica. Like, so like, is this do you select places that are kind of not the normal, and then kind of go there, or is it just all part of that church group, or was it all around the same time?
No, actually. So Argentina was the only one with the church connection.
Okay.
Everything after that's been just me.
Nice.
But I really do like as you put, those rough around the edges kind of places. You meet some really amazing people and kind of see the reality of the world. We're we're very privileged, I think, in North America. So we see a slice of what it is, but I mean, 98% of the world is very like richer and deeper in experience and not so focused on just, I'm a hypocrite in saying that's not so much focused on the BMWs of the world, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's the craziest place you've been to?
Oh, yeah, it depends how you define crazy, but like some of the most memorable ones was Jordan. Jordan was really memorable. And then, yeah, visiting the occupied West Bank and, in Israel, Palestine areas. That was just wild to experience that.
Mm.
Just phenomenal.
Was that recent or was
How did I do that one? Yeah, that one was pre-pandemic. So I think that was 2018, 2019. Yeah.
like not right now with all
Yeah.
the
Yeah, not right now. No.
and I honestly think that it's like news and media just hype it up to the point it's probably not as bad as we actually think it is. I mean, I'm sure there are places in there that are you know definitely getting ravished, but I would say a normal person, they could probably still go there, experience life, and I'm sure like people live there, try to live normal life over there, or
Yes.
just civilians. And
Yeah.
yes, I always do think media always shows just one side of the story, and it's yeah,
Yeah.
and unless you go there, you see the other side, right? So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think to that trip, because that trip I started in Jordan and then made my way into Israel.
Mm.
okay.
And at the end of it, like there's a few things that stood out, like on that point that you just raised. One was I did a like I explored the old city of Jerusalem, um, and went to the Dome of the Rock, which as a Westerner you can only go there if you're accompanied by, or at least at the time that I went there, you had to be accompanied by a guide.
Mm.
Um, and in this case, it was a Jewish guide, but they, being Jewish, they weren't allowed to go any further than the checkpoint to the Dome of the Rock. Um, but after that, so I went to go visit that holy site, and then met up with the guide on the other side, and then he took us to lunch. So that's how we did it. But he took us to an Arabic restaurant, and then sat down, and the Arabic restaurant owners, our Jewish guide, and me, the Westerner, all sat down and were breaking bread together. And they
Right.
were laughing and they were hugging and embracing, and they were obviously good friends. And so I asked them after, like, like my vantage point from the media is all of you kind of hate each other. And, it's this powder keg of issues. And he said to me, like, no, that's the politicians and the extremists. 90% of us just want to like live in harmony side by side. And I hope that's true.
Yeah.
I think it probably is.
Yeah. My uncle and aunt went to Israel, the holy journey, what they call. They did Jordan, Israel last year in 24. Right,
Mm,
right when there was a ceasefire between all on the war. Yeah, and yeah, it's what you said. The people live there as if it's normal, like day to day life. They go by, and it's not as you see in the media. So definitely, media is shows a much different story than the reality.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, coming back to your corporate life, you did your I think you did your LLB from University of Alberta, right?
Right.
And talk us through your journey after that, your corporate life.
Yeah. So, yeah, law school at U of A. Fantastic experience. Really great law school. From there, I went to Bennett Jones. So, Bennett Jones is a very large, prestigious law firm. Um, I was there from, let me do the recollection, from 2009 to 2012. I actually had a great experience at Bennett Jones. Not everybody does have a great experience at large law firms, especially early on in your career. But I was graced with a really quite a positive experience. I mean, it was challenging, a ton of work, and at times difficult people to work with, but overall, a really good experience. And then from there, I was at Brookfield. So I was there for 7 years. It was a small, lean legal team. Me and the GC at the time. We had a couple of paralegals and a risk manager on the team. So, but that was the entire team managing North American legal operations for our division of Brookfield. Brookfield's a massive organization. So for our division, that was it. But I learned a ton there. It was really great in terms of the deal experience. Shop like Brookfield, you're very active in M&A, um, capital markets, you name it. So I got to see that big law kind of experience. And in 2019, I got the itch to be an entrepreneur and started up MadeIt.Legal. Kind of tinkered around with it for a few years. Didn't really sink right into it. So I think this is a big part of the entrepreneurial journey is you get this inflection point of, okay, now I really want to be serious about it. So in 2019, we did an MVP. Um, then I went through some health issues actually, and dealt with that. And then in about 2022, got more serious about MadeIt.Legal, and I, now that we're all in the incubator program, I'd say that was another big inflection point.
Just
Which
wanted to ask one question. Is it all like suits, like the corporate life?
it's funny. So the practice of law is nothing like suits. Like you don't wake up in the morning, get to the office at 8 a.m. Uh, and then have your client give you this massive, almost unsolvable problem, and then by 4 p.m. that day, you've completed a multi-billion-dollar deal and are a hero.
Yeah,
It's that stuff happens, but it takes months, months and months and many many hours.
yeah,
So that's not accurate at all. But the personality types, though, spot on. Like it's,
yeah.
I mean, it's maybe a little exaggerated, but all the personality types you see in that show exist to some degree in
Nice,
these
nice.
big law firms. Yeah.
What I find most funny is like they look at this massive document and one page and they get the point and like, oh, it's like, okay, how did you how did you read through the document in 5 minutes?
Right? Without AI.
Yeah,
They're not even showing AI.
yeah.
All right, so let's go back to Made It Legal. So you launched. So you started in Toronto, is that right? The MVP, or
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. Yeah.
So why Toronto? Were you just living there, or was there a particular thing? Wait, how did that start in Toronto and then end up here?
Yeah, and maybe to be a little bit more accurate, we did the launch in Toronto because we were at Collision Conference,
Yep.
Mm,
so we had a booth there. But the platform's always been headquartered in Calgary. So yeah.
What, yeah. What was the aha moment that led to start made it legal? Like, was it something at Brookfield or your corporate life?
Mhm. Well, I think it's been an evolution, but I actually originally had the idea before I started my articling terms, right after law school, and I was taking a break before starting in the fall at the law firm. And I kind of thought to myself, in this world of software at the time, like this is, the dot com area or boom or whatever was 2000s, right? Like or 2000. And I thought to myself, you know what? Why can't we have software that does some of the most mundane stuff that I'm going to hate doing? And so that was just kind of like a thought in my head. And then right around then was when LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer popped up, and they've been the industry leader since and still operating. But then, while I was at Brookfield, it's a funny story, but I started helping or actually, no, I wasn't helping this. What came across my desk was a contract with a Calgary tech company, a prop tech company. And they wanted to do a pilot project with Brookfield. And so I did my due diligence and kind of basically ripped up their contract, like just marked it up like crazy, did my job, which was, to protect my client's interests. Um, then didn't hear anything of it. And then one day I was walking to get a coffee and I was going up the lobby area of Brookfield, and a friend of mine stopped me and introduced me to the founders of Virtuo. And I said, "Hey guys, great to meet you." And then they said, "So you're the guy who made our life difficult, ripped up our contract. I was like, yeah, sorry. Like, you guys seem, I said to them, you guys seem pretty cool. I'm sorry I did that to you. But, and then, anyways, what came out of that is after that pilot project launched, got to know these guys better, and then got introduced to through them to the Calgary tech space. And then I had this aha moment of, startups and smaller to even, medium sized organizations need high quality legal work. Like it's absolutely vital at that stage, but they don't have the resources to go and get it. And traditional legal services have really priced themselves out of that market. And so what these businesses were doing at the time was using Google and just searching for what they needed, finding something posted to the internet, copying and pasting, changing some names around, and hoping for the best. And now we essentially do the same thing a little bit better with ChatGPT and other AI tools. But the problem is there too, if you don't know how to properly instruct the AI, then you're not going to get the best output. And even as a trained legal professional, when I use AI tools, I'm often surprised when I quality control and check them that there's things in there that just really ought not to be in there or should be worded differently. And that just comes down to prompt engineering. And you can get better and better at that. But again, if you're not the legally trained mind, uh, you don't have as much confidence. And so then I thought, well, I can solve that problem. I can solve that problem with being a lawyer, a legal professional, creating a combination of a SaaS and AI tool that does the prompt engineering for you, has the quality control and the outputs in terms of testing the system, making sure that it's behaving the way it should, and I can solve this problem. And so that was kind of the big aha moment that led me into reaching out to platform and getting into the incubator program.
Nice.
So your extensive experience, you're a lawyer, you're an adventurer, but you don't have a tech background. So, but you decided to start a tech company, pretty much, right?
Right.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so how did you approach the technical side? Do you did you? I think you've mentioned it before. You have a team, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So, like, was how is that like I mean obviously most no I don't want to say I think there's a decent amount of founders who are not technical
Right.
but what how did you approach that problem what was that is that is are you comfortable being a non-technical founder do you have a technical co-founder maybe who helps out or how does that go.
Yeah. So, yeah, great discussion topic. So it's been difficult not being a technical founder of a tech company, but you can certainly do it. The way that I've managed it is kind of going full circle back to the team at Virtuo that I was telling you about. So I went back to them and said, "Hey, like I want to do something. I want to create a tech company, and here's my idea. But I have absolutely no idea how to code. Never coded anything in my life. So I'm the product focused guy in terms of what the solution should be, but I don't have technical expertise. And so they introduced me to the dev shop that they were using at the time, which is Code Engine Studio.
Hmm.
The founder of Code Engine has connections with Calgary and Vancouver. And so he lived in Calgary for a while. He was a developer here and then started up his own shop and leverages sort of it's like a nearshore option. So there's some North American based connections and talent, like I was just describing. And then also um, their developer talent is also based out of Vietnam. And so it's kind of like a right sized pricing model. It's not ultra cheap, so it's not like you're paying $10 an hour. But what you do get is a very skilled team that actually knows what they're doing, very high quality work. And then with Christoph is the founder there and his team having that North American connection, they kind of bridge that gap if there's anything that gets lost in translation. So that's how I've managed it. Is this team started off as our outsourced dev team, and they're still outsourced, but really they're an integral part of the team and have grown with us. And we think of them as
Nice.
they're inside our shop team members.
Nice. And did you bootstrap this whole thing?
Yeah, I have bootstrapped pretty much all of it up until we got a $50,000 grant from Alberta Innovates, which was incredibly helpful. You know, so grateful to Alberta Innovates
Yeah.
for seeing the potential made it legal.
So you gone from, maybe not millions or billions of, corporate life to bootstrapping your own startup. How did that shift your impact on your mindset and your journey?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm still adjusting. Yeah, to be honest. Yeah, I had this conversation with a young founder. He's in his 20s. I'll say young because I'm in my 40s now, so 20s feels young. But he was saying, like, from a mental health standpoint, it can be difficult for him uh, sleeping on a couch in his mom's basement. Like he wants to have a house, wants to have a car, he wants to have a lifestyle, which is all, yeah, and we all want that. There's absolutely nothing wrong, and I think everything right with wanting that. But I was telling him, it's such an advantage that you have
Yeah.
because you have like nothing to lose,
Yeah.
and that's fantastic. And you're starting at a great age. If it doesn't work out, fine. Give it a good 5 or 6 years. Doesn't work out, you're 30. It's a fine time to start again. I struggle with that because I mean I've got 3 kids. I own a house. I don't want to give up a house. I don't want to go back to sleeping on the couch. I love to travel.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like
Yes,
it's
yes.
hard to go back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Adjusting to it. What I've been trying to do is figure out like what is my minimum income number that I'm actually comfortable with.
Hmm.
And by actually comfortable, I mean like holding onto my house and being able to do maybe one trip a year instead of 3 or 4. You know, and where do you get comfortable with? And calculating that number is actually really freeing because now I know. I mean, if I want to get by, I have to work X number of hours a week,
Yep.
and it's actually not that bad. And then I can do easily another 40 hours on my business.
Got it. So,
So
so
yeah,
do you work as well, along with your business?
yeah. I work right now, so I have a legal practice, and yes, clients that I help.
Okay.
And then, so, that kind of occupies part of my week. And then the other half, or more than the other half of the week, I'm working on Made It
Yeah.
Legal now.
Agreed to your part. When I decided to quit and take the risk, my wife was like, "Don't do anything, but don't lose the home." Like, so that was the
Yes,
only condition. I was like, "Okay, you can do anything you want, but this is, yeah." So yeah, I agree with you. When you're in your 30s and 40s and you want to take the risk, there is a higher risk as compared to when you're in 20s and you don't have anything to lose.
absolutely. Especially if you get too aggressive with that risk, when you're in your 30s and 40s and it doesn't work out, then all of a sudden you have to reboot your career close to 50.
Yeah.
I mean, then you're looking at like you got what 15, 17 years of
Yeah.
runway ahead before you get, that gets tough.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Agreed.
I mean, you're used to taking risks, I feel.
yeah.
I feel like every weekend in the
Yeah.
summer is pretty much it's pretty much just risky for you. So yeah. So actually, yeah, kind of bringing that. So there's risks in entrepreneurship. There's risks in all your different passions. Is there a connection between these two? Do you think that maybe because you're that personality type who wants to take on extreme sports, and that's why you wanted to build something? Have you always been an entrepreneur? How like is there any connection between who you are and what you love doing and where you're trying to build?
Hmm. Well, I think there has to be a connection. Is the short answer. Um, you know, I think the through line is both as an entrepreneur and somebody who likes quote unquote extreme sports. The through line is risk, and so we have to be comfortable with risk. But like risk is such an interesting topic because especially in these adventure sports that we do, we talk about risk all the time, and it's not the adrenaline thrill, like that is out there. And I'm going to pick on the base jumpers of the world, even though, I mean, if anybody are watching, they're probably be pretty mad at me for saying that. But I've only known a couple of base jumpers, and I look at them like, yeah, they love the adrenaline. So I mean, there's that subset though. that's there. And that's in every sport. It could be in paragliding, anything else. But the majority of us look at it as self mastery. So, how do I master my fears, my reactions, and my ability to harness the elements to do something absolutely amazing? You know, like flying off of a mountain that you've hiked up, gaining altitude over that peak, and then flying out over a beautiful place like Emerald Lake. Like that's life, you know. Like you can, that's like bucket list kind of stuff. Life, and I feel like being an entrepreneur is very much the same. You know, like it's master, it's that self mastery of like, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to take, as we were saying at the beginning of the call, far more bad days than good days. Like it's ridiculous the ratio of bad days to good days in this. Like it sucks.
Yeah.
You know? But the success is in the attempt. You know, like you're doing something awesome. Whether it works out or not, you can get to the end of it and look back and say that was so worthy of the days of my existence that I spent on that, rather than grinding it away behind the desk somewhere.
True.
Yeah,
For sure. You so you know you mentioned your kids. You have a daughter, Brooklyn, right?
I have three daughters. Yeah.
Okay, all three daughters. Okay,
Hmm.
I think you've mentioned it somewhere. Full transparency, I did research you with AI, so a lot of stuff.
I'm so interested to see the results of that research.
Right, like it's pretty impressive. I have no idea where you said any of this, but you have said it somewhere, and the internet and the world knows about it. So yeah, apparently she copyrights your photos. Is that correct?
So it's probably that's probably coming from my lawyer website. Yeah, my
Okay.
like my personal brand website. So yeah, Brooklyn took a picture of me paragliding, and I put it up there. And this is really funny because this is when she was pretty young,
Mhm.
but she said, like, Dad, shouldn't you be mentioning me because I own the copyright to that photo? It's like, yeah, you're right. I should probably give you attribution rights and mention that. So yeah, I think I have that on the website.
Yeah. You
I
have a
did.
lawyer growing up.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
mentioned that.
something. Yeah.
Are your daughters just as adventurous? Do they do crazy things as well, or have you managed to pass that on?
I think the seeds are there. Um, this is the interesting thing about having kids is you realize how similar they are to you, and then also how drastically different and unique, individuals they are. So my middle one, Izzy, she's the one that talks the most about wanting to do paragliding and other things. So actually, I was just talking to her yesterday about she wants to take paragliding classes. So
Nice.
at least there's one that's probably following in those footsteps. But all three of them love adventure in their own ways. So like Brooklyn, we did a trip to Italy last year. So that was for her 16th birthday. And so she got the travel adventure bug from that. And my youngest one, Aria, she's adventurous in how she views the world. Like she loves exploring. And when we go skiing, I'll find her in the trees and she's just looking for pine cones, for example, and just exploring where she can get to. So it's adventure in a different way.
Nice. Uh, I think coming back to your other baby, made it legal. Uh, from a small MVP at Collision to what you have right now, did you have any pivots, or is it the same product that you had in 2019?
Yeah, so it's evolved, and now we're going through like a really intense period of evolving right now, actually. So our MVP in Collision was a SaaS product. It was, I'd say, it was less focused on that startup to scale up market. It was kind of more like focused on freelancers,
Hmm.
and that's still an important market for us. But now we've expanded. So, as an example, we've included now collaboration tools. So, not only can you create your own contract on the platform, but you can actually work with other team members internally and externally. So, like as an example, when I help people just with the manual process of being a lawyer, um, I'll have to interact with my client. It's not at all uncommon that I'll have to interact with the other side as well on like an all hands call where we discuss what the contract looks like. We're negotiating certain points. And then with inside my client's organization, not only am I talking to my main contact point, which might be an in-house lawyer or it could be a business person, but we'll also have to talk to maybe a director of IT to make sure if they're comfortable with the information security provisions in the contract. And we'll have to talk to the salesperson to make sure that they're comfortable with the pricing renewal terms. Then we'll need finance approval. So there's all these people that need to be involved. So that was another aha moment when I thought, like, how do I streamline this process with technology? So we built collaboration tools that now allow our users to bring in those other internal team members to say, like, director of sales, please take a look at the renewal terms. You can highlight those portions of the contract, and then they can instruct the platform on how they want that part of the contract to be written. And then the VP finance can approve other amounts. So we have all these workflows built into there. So that's really a very fundamental difference between the MVP and the V1 launch that we have now.
Got it.
And now the next one is AI. So like we are right now in the throes of developing like a fully like just awesome AI tool. Like I'm really excited to get it launched. We need money for it, so that's why we're looking at all avenues, whether it's increased bootstrapping, hopefully some grants, maybe some bank loans, and as a last resort, we'll even look at private equity. But we'll see how far we can get first.
So I guess funding is like your last resort. You're trying to keep as much control of the company as you can without trying to involve external investors. Is that the route you want to go?
That's our strategy for now. And in saying that, like I want to be clear to any potential VCs or angel investors listening to this that 100% not opposed to funding discussions. Where that's coming from is as a lawyer, I've helped a lot of startups and scaling companies with their fundraising and funding journey. And I've seen a lot of companies that go at it too early. And when you think about like right now, this should be the cheapest valuation that MadeIt.Legal ever has, hopefully. You know, so to sell a large chunk of the company now, not only would we be giving up a lot of control, but we would be reducing our runway quite a lot because we'd only have so much more equity we could sell to keep that journey going. So I'm a firm believer in both just belief in the theoretical aspect of it, but also seeing it in practice to go as far as you possibly can, and then start bringing in that VC money, angel investor money. I don't think that'll be too long for us. I think if we get the grant that we're going for and maybe a little bit more bootstrapping and potentially a bank loan through something like Business Development Bank of Canada, I think we'll have what we need to have a really great first version of this next iteration of MadeIt.Legal. And then, I think we'll see a lot of traction and then maybe raising equity at that point. Not only would give us the money we need, but also the connections. The right investors can really help you with that connections and growth story.
And I think you've talked about the feeling of I made it being more than
Mhm.
just financial success.
Yeah.
So what is your what is the end the finish line look for Made It Legal? Is it growing it and then selling it off? Is it growing it and then just becoming the I guess the leading company for AI legal tech? Like what is how do you see your what do you see the finish line for Made It Legal look like?
Yeah. And that finish line may change a lot over time, but right now, if I could have my wish and what I'm swinging for is to build this ecosystem where we're providing all of those tools to help businesses fully manage their legal function. Um, inside Made It Legal, we talk about it as being business freedom fighters. So, how do we free up that entrepreneur's time or that founder's time, CEO's time, whoever it might be, so that they can focus on the things that really matter? So, getting to the signal rather than the noise. We happen to do that through high quality legal technology, and we also have a human lawyer marketplace as well. So this is where from start to finish, no matter where you want to start with, whether it's a low cost technological solution, a more sophisticated enterprise light version of that software, or a human touch, we can do that.
Yeah, I was going to
Uh,
touch upon that. And I know you have a software version, you have all the legal templates and stuff, but then I also saw the marketplace of lawyers. How does this hybrid model work? Like, is it okay? I have a template. I use your software to make the template. I want it verified, and then I go choose a lawyer. And how does the under SaaS? How does that work? I have to pay extra. Like, how does that work?
yeah. So, and our lawyer marketplace is in beta right now. So we're figuring out like kind of some of those questions you asked to see like what works best for our customers. But the way it works right now is, yeah, you can make your contract on MadeIt.Legal,
Mhm.
and we go to great lengths to make sure that the platform will get you somewhere between 80 to 100% of what you need,
Yeah.
right? Which is pretty typical even for a first draft from a lawyer. But it's not uncommon that there will come a point where the platform, like you've gone as far as you can, but the platform doesn't quite get you all the way there. Um, and what I mean by uncommon is what can happen is you've made your contract and then you go send it to the other party for their signature, and then they want to negotiate something. You're like, well, I have no idea how to negotiate this. So this is where you might need a lawyer
Mhm.
to help you out. But the brilliance behind it is like let's take like a shareholders agreement, which is something that I'm working on right now with a customer of the platform. Normally, if that business went to a lawyer and said, "Hey, I need a shareholders agreement," the lawyer might say, "Okay, that's going to be between 5 to 8 hours of my time." Rough math, like maybe that's $5,000, or whatever it is, and and that's a fair bit of money. But with a platform, you can make it on MadeIt.Legal, and then you get stuck. Maybe hopefully you don't. But if you do get stuck, then you can say, "Okay, I'm going to click a button on this lawyer marketplace, say I've made a shareholders agreement on MadeIt.Legal. We're stuck on this one topic. We need a lawyer's help." So you outline that. We get the request on our side, and then we then match that request with lawyers in our network to say, okay, like we know, making up somebody's name, we know Trevor over here is an expert in this particular topic on shareholders agreements. We link you up with Trevor. He only needs an hour and charges you $400. So now your return on investment is massive. Maybe it's going to cost you $5,000. Now it's cost you a total of $400
Mhm.
with that extra help. Um, I'm being a little bit long-winded here, but where we're taking it though is um, AI tools are going to start building in like negotiation coaching and everything else. But when you still need that real human lawyer help, then we're going to have bios on the website. So you're going to be able to select that person. So you can see, hey, here's Trevor over here, here's Greg over here, 4.6 out of 5, 4.8 out of 5 rating. This is their expertise, their background experience, and then be able to select them and submit your request directly to that lawyer. And so then MadeIt.Legal becomes that facilitator. Like we are the facilitator now, but it's through a manual process. But in the future, that will be a completely online digital experience.
Yeah. And I think like one follow up on this on AI. Nowadays, a lot of people use ChatGPT to draft up legal templates and send it over. Uh, what do you have to say on that? Like, why do you need a software like MadeIt.Legal? I could just get it from ChatGPT. Just the
Yeah,
template side, yeah.
just a template side. Yeah, so I'd say ChatGPT is certainly better than just Googling something and searching. Um, so an example comes to mind. So I had a client ask me to create an engagement letter for use with investment bankers in Asia. So a certain region of Asia, and they wanted to have our own in-house engagement letter for the bankers. A couple of problems come up. One, no investment banking firm in the world will take your engagement letter. Um, they have their own, and they want you to accept theirs. The other problem is in this particular part of the world, contracts just really aren't used, and if they are, they're very very basic. And so instantly that's going to be a problem, which was the reason why we wanted to create our own template in-house one, because the ones we were getting were far too simplistic.
Mm.
So I thought, here's a great example. Like, I'm going to try out an AI tool I built for lawyers and see how it does. It wrote, I prompted it well, even used the prompt improvement feature that they have, which is a pretty cool thing. I got it. What I got back was a very well written contract in terms of structure. All the defined terms were used properly. Good section references. It was professional. But in there was a break fee clause that said that if I decide not to go ahead with this acquisition of another company, I would have to pay my own advisor a break fee equal to I think it was 2.5 or 3% of the total transaction value, and the acquisition value was tens of millions.
Mm.
And so if you can do the math, I'm paying a huge chunk to my own advisor for saying I don't want to go ahead with this deal after getting through due diligence. That's a really big problem, and you wouldn't put that in a term. You might have a break fee with your advisor to say, like, if you don't go ahead with the deal, you still owe a portion of your fees because they've incurred costs up front and stacking their team. Fine, but you wouldn't pay them out millions. Not ever
Yeah.
for that. Where that break fee was coming from is in a transaction, you might agree to a break fee with the target that you're looking to buy and say, look, if we go through due diligence, we lock you up for 6 weeks, 3 months.
Yeah.
You pass over other deals. We decide not to go ahead. You've lost opportunity. Okay, we'll pay a certain percentage of the transaction fee to make up for your lost time, lost opportunities.
Yeah.
So this is where I use this example to highlight the problems with just a pure ChatGPT experience. Because I'm a legal professional. I really prompt engineered that well. I got a great result. It had a detrimental clause in there, right? So what we're doing with Made It Legal is we're using AI in the back, but we've done that prompt engineering up front that mimics the way a lawyer thinks.
Mm.
So when you go through that process of Made It Legal, it's been a highly curated set of questions and thought process in the background to guide you through that, so that when your package of questions and prompts and answers gets to the AI in the background, it's super, super well constructed. And so the output is going to be much higher.
Nice. Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know it's a bit of a long winded example.
Yeah. It's. I think the balance of hallucination of AI. A lot of time AI hallucinates and adds stuff that we didn't ask it to add. I think it's how you, and that's the last 15%, right? And how do
Yeah.
you do that and make it 100%? I think that's what AI companies are here for. And I think you're doing a
Yeah.
good job at it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. AI definitely is the future. And it's remarkable how much better it's getting each time. Yeah.
Do you feel threatened? Like the lawyer profession, is it threatened by AI or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel threatened by it, which is another big reason of doing Made It Legal, because
You need it out. You need it exit
yeah,
strategy.
exactly. Like it's just like the Industrial Revolution. Like the threatened workers back then, laborers. Like, well, it'd be better to own the factory now, so let's
Yeah.
build the factory. Yeah.
100%. So I guess just closing out. Do you have any? Let's kind of go back on a lighter note here. Do you have any other adventures planned? Any
Hmm.
trips? Anything crazy? Are you planning on buying an airplane and an Astra pretty soon, or what's the future look like for Greg?
What's the future look like? Well, the future's looking up. Like the other thing I think you would know about our discussions at Platform is we had a house fire. And so we're back home now. Like what you're seeing here is my actual home. So that's been a massive bright spot. We're planning an adventure with the kids in October, looking at probably going to something like Costa Rica with them, actually. It's a
Nice.
really big adventure. We did Belize last year, and so we want to kind of continue in that theme. Um, Flying, it's funny you mentioned it because I just said to my family on Tuesday just out loud as I was daydreaming, I was like, I'm going to buy an airplane. And my goal is in the next 3 years to buy a glider is what I want to buy. So like a sailplane. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, nice. And any final advice? So this podcast is meant for entrepreneurs or futurepreneurs who
Yeah.
kind of want to start their company. So any advice starting their companies, growing them, you know, bringing your idea into an actual product? What would you say to them?
Mm, it's a timely question because I just had this conversation with an extremely successful founder. You know, I don't want to name drop because that might look weird, and I haven't asked for his permission to share this conversation. But two-time hit out of the park. You know, he's created two unicorns now, and my question to him was like, where do you tap into to get that energy? You know, like because like I had to say to him and I'll say to you guys, like I get tired. You know, this is a tiring process, but man, this guy like he's just a machine. Like so where do you tap in? And two points came out of that. He said too many people play in tech rather than really go after it. So he's like, if you're gonna go after it, you gotta wake up one day and say, let's effing go. And like that means go. It means not playing with this anymore. Take some risk, get scared, and go do it. And that made me think of paragliding. You know, like first few times I paraglide, it's like you can't be timid when you're trying to launch off a mountain. Like if you don't run with full intent of going off that cliff, you're gonna have a really bad day. You
Yeah.
know, if you just walk off it, your wing's not gonna fly. You're gonna fall down that cliff the whole way. So that's what came out of it. And then when I asked, like, how do you get comfortable with that risk? The response was, if you're feeling uncomfortable with it, which kind of goes back to our earlier conversation, he said, like, give it a boundary. Like, say, like, for this next 3 years, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it wholeheartedly. I'm gonna quit my day job if I need to. Maybe I'm gonna tap into a reasonable amount of my savings. I'm gonna forego my lifestyle. I'm gonna do everything that I need to make this happen. But I'm only gonna do it for 3 years if that's what your comfort level is, or two, or whatever it might be. And be disciplined with that. If it's not working, say, okay, it didn't work out, but you're satisfied. And so that piece of advice was so good to me because I realized all of the risk is in the indecision rather than the attempt. Because if you're just sort of like playing around with it, timid with it, what you're doing is you're burning your resources and you're burning your time.
Yeah.
So stop being timid, lose that indecisiveness, try it, and then realize that develop the strength to do bold things, and not the strength just to suffer through it. So um,
That's
yeah,
Right.
I think that's the advice I would give to anybody.
yeah.
No, very insightful, and I think that echoes with what we have found as well. It's
Yeah.
then you take that leap, and it's always scary, and then once you do, you just
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's a whole other cup of tea. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you do it, check out Made It Legal for all your legal templates and legal work. I think that's shout out to your company and to you.
yeah, I think it's
And
made
thank you.
made dot legal, right?
Made
That's the
It
Yeah,
website.
dot
Legal.
legal.
Yes.
That's
All right,
right.
cool.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank you for
much.
that.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Thanks for your time. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll tag you on LinkedIn when this comes out. We usually just post on YouTube, so you'll
Excellent.
see you
Well,
there.
thank you. I really enjoyed our conversation. It was
So
excellent.
it was very insightful, and yeah, keep in touch. And yeah, we'll see you when we get back to the platform.
Okay, you bet. Take
All
care.
right. See you, Greg. Cheers. Bye.
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 Me and Abby, we always wanted to do like content stuff, but we've just never really been good at it. But what we're good at is just, I guess, speaking. So we figured we can try and start a podcast because